is the Rangers Journal Night.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Journal podcast. I'm your host, Scott Mackay, and I'm delighted to be joined by my good pal for the Gallant Few podcast, Mason Stewart. We're awaiting Dean. He is en route, so we just thought we would get started. Mason, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, well, good. Thanks, Scotty. Thanks for having us on, mate. Appreciate it. Looking forward to this one. I know this has been a subject me and you have gone over many a time, so this is our final pitch, I think.
Aye, definitely, mate. Definitely. Just for everybody in the comments, I've got like my two favourite people in the Lawrence Shankland bandwagon tonight. So, aye. Dean probably is in a different room tonight. You're right. Aye, Kieran, he's in a different room all the time, mate. He travels with his job. So, good observation, pal. Right, so obviously we're here to talk to one and only Lawrence Shankland tonight, gents. We'll just get right into it. So, firstly, I want us to sign with Lawrence Shankland because we need a proven goal scorer in this team. And I think no matter what we say, I think it would have made a difference to our points tally. I'm not saying he would have won as a league, but I think we would have been a lot closer than what we were. Mason, what about you? Why do you want to sign Lawrence Shankland?
How long you got, Scotty? Hopefully we get through.
All night, mate.
I think someone that's capable of scoring goals in our league on a consistent basis is obviously a big one. We went different last season with players from abroad and sort of a fancy name that sort of excites the support. But I've said all along, our bread and butter should always be players in our league, and that's back-to-back seasons now. He scored 24 goals. I think that there's a little bit of a myth about how he leads the line. I think he's very good at leading the line. I watched him in most games against Celtic this season, and I think he's led the line better than any striker we've had since Morelos in the 55 season. So I disagree with any supporter there that sort of says he can't do that. I think he'd do that for us. And even just look at the game of the weekend, how many times a ball flashes across that box and there's no one there to put it away, and it's so frustrating. I think if we miss another transfer window with not going for Lawrence Shankland, I think we've failed again.
Aye, definitely. Just for some clarification, the podcast tonight is not that we know that Rangers are in for Shankland. The chances are probably not. What we're trying to do is sell Lawrence Shankland so Rangers go and buy him because we want him in our team. Just for a wee bit of clarity in the comments. Obviously, Paul says it doesn't know if Clement rates him. Dean, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. Good.
You good? Why do you want to sign Lawrence Shankland?
Because he's the best striker in the league. And best striker in the league wins you cups and gets medals round the players' necks. Simple as that. And that's what we are starved of at Rangers. Starved for far too long with the lack of success. And I've been banging this drum for a while. I was born in 85, and successful Rangers teams throughout my life have had a contingent of Scottish players. And we don't have that. And I'm not saying it's a coincidence as to, us really only lifting 3 big trophies in the space of 9-8 years or whatever it is. However, I think it's definitely got an impact in that start. So we should be signing Lawrence Shankland to be putting the ball in the back of the net and not scoring 23 goals in all competitions, scoring 23 league goals. And I feel that Shankland could hit those numbers, and without, doing his backing, so to speak, he would comfortably in that Rangers side, as Mason just highlighted there. That ball went across the box at the weekend, and there was no number 9 he put in the back of the net. We were sitting next to each other when that happened, weren't we, Scott? And we were just like, oh, it was frustrating. Like, see, all you needed was just somebody to put a toe on it, whatever, just to get it in the back of the net, and we don't have that. And Lawrence Shankland would bring that. You wouldn't, it's all. You've got to think he ticks a lot of boxes. We always seem to find players that need time to settle in. There would be no settling in. He would come in and hit the ground running as soon as possible, and that would be and he would have that in his stride he knows the way to the club. He's been a fan of us all his life, so he knows the expectations and he knows what it would mean to play for the club. And I think it would just be a win-win. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Aye, definitely, mate. Just a couple of wee things I need to plug for the pod tonight. So this is brought to you tonight in association with Man on Inverclyde, which is our usual kind of sponsor. It's a suicide prevention service. Stick Man On into Google and you'll certainly find them if there's anybody out there feeling as if they need the help. There was a charity stream on Friday from 1 till 7 on a Man On YouTube page, I think. And it's also brought to you in conjunction with Evolve Private Personal Training. Lee at Evolve works on, he specialises in males in their 30s who haven't been feeling great about themselves. Like, gets working with them, gets a bit of confidence into them in the gym, does online programs and stuff. All his links and stuff are in the description down below. Please head on over and give him a like and check him out. And if anybody's interested, please get in contact with him. Right, now that the business is out of the road, we'll bring up our slides first. So, just for anybody listening on Spotify, this is slides on Lawrence Shankland. There's obviously some comments coming in just now. Doug has said that Shankland, fun fact, he's the 9th highest equal scorer in Europe. It's not bad. And for somebody that you could potentially get for 2 to 2.5 million, I think it's a no-brainer. Rangers are going to get it done. With another one, Blue Sea Podcast, I've said it's an absolutely no-brainer for us. So he's obviously hit, Mason, I'll come to you first. He's obviously hit Player of the Year in Scotland this season. I think he beat Tav, Matt O'Reilly. I can't remember who the other player was, but he's beat them all to the award anyway. He's finished up scorer. For somebody that isn't great, apparently, outside the box, he finished second in goal contributions at 28. What's your thoughts on all that?
It frustrates the life out of me, Scotty, when I read that and see it plenty of times. There's a lot of supporters that don't want Shankland for obviously us three do. There's a lot in the comments that do, but there's a lot that don't, and they are, you know, big ones that sort of don't appreciate the work and the build-up play he does for Hearts. All I say is go and watch 2 games. If you don't believe that, go and watch 2 games. Go and watch the game at Hotham Parkhead where they beat Celtic 2-0, and then watch the game where they beat Celtic 2-0 at Tynecastle and tell me he can't lead the line. So completely disagree with that. I don't think he gets enough credit for that. And his goal scoring just got better and better. I think some of the goals he scored this season, you know, we've just said that Dean said the same about the ball, you know, coming into that 6-yard box, but he scored a lot of goals from outside the box and just coming into the box. First time finishes. And someone has scored 31 goals for Hearts this season is not to be sniffed at. Think how many goals he could get for us in a team that's got the ball a lot more than Hearts and creating the amount of chances that we do. Look at the amount of goals Dessers has scored this season and the amount of chances he's missed. Shankland would have hit big numbers with us this season. I've got no doubt about that. And that's what really frustrates me in January. I understand financially Hearts would have wanted a lot of money. But by the way, Fabio Silva wouldn't have been cheap. And I know it was a loan, but there's still a fee to be paid. There's still a wage to be paid there. So, you know, that might have got, you know, I'm not saying, as you've got, you can't say one player would have wanted to leave, but I tell you what, we'd have got a lot closer with Lawrence Shankland in the team than we ended up finished with. That's a fact.
Aye, definitely. Dean, I'm going to come to you on the kind of, on the point, the first 3 points of the slide, which I just brought to Mason, and also that he's 4th in goals per 90. So he's the first in players that's played over 700 minutes. He's 8th in big chances missed in the league. So Dessers has missed 9, I think. Dessers has missed 27. Kyogo's missed 24. And Miofsky's missed 16. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, that's quite extraordinary. That in itself, because you can't expect every striker on the planet to not miss big chances. There's the best of them do, but given that you know, Dessers has missed 3 times the amount that Shankland's missed. That's wow. Kyogo, that's quite high as well. Miofsky, that's quite high, and A lot of people are saying that, we should send Miovski and things like that. So it's nearly double to what Shanks has missed, which is quite extraordinary. And one thing I was wanting to ask there now, if somebody in the comments is a bit of a whiz, then the last time a player at Hearts scored that amount of goals, would I be right in saying that would have been John Robertson?
I would probably agree with that. Off the top of my head, I would say Johnny Robertson. Aye.
And I know that when John Robertson was in his heyday, if Rangers never had Ali McCoy, John Robertson would have been at Rangers.
Aye. Good player.
Very good player. So players that score those amount of goals of Hearts are 30 years apart, for argument's sake, right? So the question I'm asking is, why is, if Rangers, want to be the best team in Scotland, not signing the best players in Scotland? That's the, why is that? Someone please tell me. And again, as I'm going to reiterate what Scotty said, we don't know what type of player it is that Clement wants or that he rates or whatever. But facts are facts. He's the best striker in the league. And 8th in big chances missed. That's quite a high stat for me. Sorry?
It's a good conversion rate.
It is, isn't it? It's a very, very good conversion rate, and you've got to think yourself as to what's stopping. And I think, Mason, you actually raised a really good point. I never looked at it like that as well, that, the cost of Silva and what he would have cost Rangers with wages and the loan fee, to think that, could we have actually maybe spent that money on Shankland? That's quite a good point. I never actually thought of it like that previously. That's actually a really good point that you've got to ask, I guess, Rangers as to why didn't you get him in when everybody knew that we were crying out for a striker, and when Silva was signed, everybody's like, oh, but he can play up top, but he's not really an out and out centre forward, in my opinion. So, we've got to look to spend our money a lot better than that, and Shankland would have been money well spent, in my opinion.
Aye, definitely. Curry's come in with a comment and he says unless Rangers can get him for 3 million to 3.5, they're not going to sign him. I actually reckon Curry, his contract expiring and at the end of next season, I reckon you've got a chance of getting him for 2.5. I think that would be a fairly reasonable transfer fee. Hearts got to keep him to the end of the season. They got their big kind of pay through finishing third. And I think that would be more than a fair deal for Shankland, to be honest. And he's also come in with a comment saying he doesn't face beloved men behind the ball ever. And I actually watched Hearts a few times last season, and they do. There was one of the games at Motherwell who came in Campton. Hearts never scored the first half, and then they got a set piece in the second half, and Shankland sniffs a chance out and scores it, puts Hearts 1-0 up. So I need to disagree with you in terms of that game. Right, what else have we got, guys? So he's obviously 28, he's 6'1", his transfer market value is 2.3, which is why I think 2.5 probably gets him. He's had 37 appearances, 36 starts. This is in the league, 24 goals, 4 assists, 17.1 XG, 18% conversion rate, 0.66 per 90. He's created just under 1.5 chances per 90. Decent dribbling success, 135% of duels and 40% of aerial duels. Mason, you get any thoughts on any of that?
That's impressive numbers, really, isn't it? To be honest, Scotty, you've got to look at it. I see some of this the other day on Twitter as well, and I wasn't surprised by it, because your eyes don't lie. And every time I've watched him this season, he's impressed me. And I've watched, it was funny that the game we played against Hearts last week on Rangers TV, there was a sort of, they'd done a Hearts sort of mini season review on the screen whilst we were waiting. And it was basically the Shankland show. Every goal was one of his goals. And just to sort of follow up what you said there, and on Andy's point, have a look at some of them goals. That's not someone that's running in behind that's got loads and loads of space to go and score. They're all, in the box, instinctive finishes, first time. So I don't see how, that wouldn't work for us. That's exactly what we need, and that's exactly what we've been missing this season. But yeah, to sort of answer your questions, you can't argue with them numbers. You can't. Even support don't want them. They are the numbers we should be going to get for a player that's doing it in our league that will be desperate to come. It just frustrate the life out of me again, as to sort of reiterate that. If we go down the route of an unknown quantity or a player that's playing in a better league that just doesn't hit their numbers, because I've got a bad feeling that's exactly what we're going to do and keep making that same mistake.
Aye, definitely, mate. Dean, Doug, I think, is probably ripping the piss out of me and you a wee bit now, because this is the third player he's put in that have scored 30 plus goals for Hearts since John Robertson. Kyle Lafferty, Wanma. I don't know who Wanma is, but aye, so it wasn't John Robertson was the last one. I think Doug's having a bit of a laugh at it, if I'm being honest. He's never even heard of Delgado either. Have you got any thoughts on that slide, Dean? What about it says there on the just listening Spotify, it says there on the right hand side that it does play attacking mid. I think he played attacking mid in Belgium, and he played on the right in Belgium for Beerschot as well.
I'm going to actually say something that isn't there, but which I think is imperative to him and what he would bring. He's the captain of Hearts. We lack leadership in that team. If he was to sign, now I'm not saying that he would, that he's as good as, but I would be getting sort of like Dado Purcell vibes of coming in and being that sort of front leading figure of standards, somebody that's leading the line and that's going to battle, that's going to dig in, that's going to win you the game, maybe not necessarily with the goals that they score, just with their presence in that team. And I think he would bring something that's badly needed up top. It's badly needed throughout the team, but as I'll reiterate, at the core of our previous winning sides had players all like that throughout the spine, and that's something that he would bring, which isn't a stat that's there, but we all know he would bring that. Now, see as well, see the aerial duels one, 40%. Mm-hmm. How many times do we knock the ball long and we're getting absolutely bullied and nobody can win a header? That happens. How many times does that happen? And in the league, so he's winning 40% of aerial duels in the league, which predominantly it's sometimes a lot of long balls over the top, isn't it? So that to me is we're crying out for somebody that can win an aerial duel. So therefore that ticks another box, doesn't it? And I mean, dribble success was quite good as well. They're 42% dribble success. Even that is that's a high stat. Do you know? Just wee things like that. It's just crying out for him.
Aye, definitely, mate. Definitely. I wanted to bring up. So he scored 4 goals in the league against the Old Firm this season. 2 against Rangers, 2 against Celtic. Scored at Ibrox, scored at Parkhead. There's an awful lot it says about him performing in Europe. And he has produced the goods in Europe. Fine, it's a Conference League, but you need to remember he's been playing for Hearts, who are, without any disrespect, a lesser team in terms of chances that would get created for him. So Mason, he scored a goal against Zurich, 2 in a Europa League, in a Europa Conference League group stages. That was in 22-23, and then 23-24. 2 goals and 1 assist v Rosenborg, and to progress to Europa League Conference playoff, and then they scored against PAOK. Now, Hearts never made it to the group stages that season, but for me, that does show that he can score against big clubs. He can do it in the big stage. He scored against us at Hampden, and he can do it in Europe when given the opportunity.
He's, as you said, Scotty, he's done it in all the big games for Hearts this season. If you're sort of looking at, as a Hearts fan this season, and looking at they're called big games, you're looking at the games against Hibs where he scored, winners in them. You go and look at the games against us. He scored against us, and I think he's got 3 against Celtic this season, and he scored obviously against them a couple of times last season as well. What one of our even Morelos, he didn't have a good goal scoring rate for us against them. I think he ended up with 3. So someone that can score goals against them as well. That's one of the big ones. I think one that I probably wouldn't be wanting so much if he was only able of doing it against sort of the bottom six, and as sort of Van Veen did the year before. I think Shankland's got so much more in his locker than that. And again, another sort of big one for us. We're going to need sort of horses for courses next season in that striking department. Not saying Shankland comes in and all of a sudden, you know, we're going to start winning trophies and it's going to happen overnight, but it would certainly help, and he'd give us something different to that sort of striking department that we don't have right now.
Aye, definitely. Dean, have you got any thoughts on who he scored against, where he's produced the goods? Do you think if we did sign him, that he would be able to do it against the bigger teams? Maybe not necessarily in Europe. I think Dessers is maybe better suited to Europe because certain games you might be playing a counter-attack. Dessers has got a good pass on him. He's got a good range. He's got good movement and stuff. But do you think that Shankland could do a job if needed?
Yeah, easily. I don't think I would have any quarrels with him starting up front against Real Madrid. Do you know? I actually wouldn't. Because if he gets a chance, he's going to, you know, you're going to gamble on him taking it. He's not going to chop away. He's not going to hesitate one split second. He's going to be instinctive, and he's going to be ruthless, and he's going to be getting a shot. And I'm pretty confident he would get his shot on target, and he would, you know, at least score without missing as much as our other number 9 does. So yeah, I don't think I'd have any qualms about that. He rises to the occasion. I mean, the last goal he scored against us was a bit of a tidy wee goal, wasn't it? Last one he scored against us, and that's the kind of finishes that you want to see at Ibrox, isn't it? And he scored against the team that he loves, so fair play to him. And scoring against them, fair play to him. And as you said, he scored in Europe, but with very limited chances created. So given the chances that we create, even in Europe, he's going to be scoring goals. And which, I mean, it's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Aye, definitely, mate. Definitely. Now I'm going to put up Shankland's goals this season via the SPFL Scout on YouTube. He put the video together, so I decided to put it together for my pod. So I'm just going to share my screen just now. Put that on big, and let's just enjoy his goals for a couple of minutes. It's ridiculous, man. Right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I rest my case. Mason, you get anything to say on any? I noticed right foot, left foot, headers, inside of the boot, outside of the boot, goals for inside the box, goals for outside the box, movement. What do you think?
Just get this sent to Niels Coppen and someone ASAP.
Somebody needs to tag them now on Twitter for me.
Get it done. There should be no excuses. And I've seen a couple of comments as well saying, "Oh, we shouldn't be spending 2 to 3 million on a 28, 29-year-old." Didn't we? Didn't we spend over 2 million on Chola? I disagree with it. If he goes and bangs in goals for the next couple of years, he's paid his money. What's 2 to 3 million? I think a lot of people are getting quite obsessed with this. We transfer model. We can only sign players that are younger than 25. We need the experience in there as well. We need, as Dean mentioned earlier, the leadership. And he's a captain. He's a captain at the minute. So he just ticks every box for me. And again, just to come back to another one saying he's got no pace. We need young players that have got pace. Bradley Matondo's got pace, but does he mean he's good enough? No. So again, just another one I don't agree with. But I'll be gutted if we don't make it move, because if we don't do it this summer, it's not going to happen. It needs to happen. It needs to happen. Now.
Dean, what about you? You get any input into that?
I'm just going to echo what Curry said there. I too wanted him since his time at here. So I've been a long admirer of him, and he ticks every single box. He probably ticks boxes that don't even need to be ticked, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So it's really it's an absolute no-brainer getting him in, and I do appreciate us having this player trading model a lot more consistency, using it a lot more consistently, should I say? But we're going to need to sign in, some players that aren't going to be sellable assets in 2-3 years' time, who are going to double their money or make us a profit, things like that. We need to be signing players that are going to enable these other players to perform better, to get medals around their necks, to get money for us. So that's my angle with it. Sign them. Let's get the goals. Let's start getting the league championship back at Ibrox, and by signing him, you're making a statement signing as well. Because it's been a long time since Rangers have went out and been able to buy the best player in Scotland, isn't it? So let's get back to those levels that we once were at, and you start by doing that by getting the best of the league, because, as everybody says, and it's the old cliche, it's a bread and butter. So it's all fair and well having the fast, fancy players that are, that can shine on the European stage and so on and so forth. We still need the players that can lead the team and have that bite and that grit and determination to see us over the line.
Now, Mason, see whenever Rangers are signing a player, I think we'll jump onto YouTube when we find the obligatory YouTube video But I think in this sense, you can be a wee bit more lenient in the bias of it's only YouTube, because we know the guy, we've watched him all season, he's in the league. In at clip there, oh, by the way, thank you to SPFL Scout. Everybody jump over and subscribe. I think going by that clip there, I think that you can tell that it's genuine quality that you'll be bringing into the club for 2.5 million. And like Dean said, to get this player trading model going, we need experience.
Yeah, that thing's spot on. I think someone else, Doug, put a comment as well, and I agree with that, where not every player we can sign, can be a project player, because we will continue to not win enough with that. You need to get players that are ready, and you'd say Shankland's coming into his twilight years. I'd say he's still got a couple more years at that level. We need players like that as well. And you're absolutely spot on, Scotty. If this was a player that was linked, say, playing in the Austrian league or a league similar to ours, and you've just watched them goals, everyone would be getting excited saying, we've got to sign him. An age wouldn't even, no one would mention an age, or no one would mention pace. So what's the difference here that someone's actually doing it in our league? And Dean's right, it's frustrated me for years. And this is where, for me, Van Bronckhorst went wrong, Bill went wrong, and then even Gerrard went wrong at times. Obviously, you look at the Lewis Ferguson not going for him, that still every morning frustrates the life out of me. You've got to learn from that. This can't happen. Dean said it's got to be our bread and butter players that are doing it in our league. That, the amount of turnover of players that we're going to have to see again this summer, we can't expect 10 players, 8 of them coming from all different parts of the world, and then gel straight away and then get us into the Champions League. It's not going to happen. It needs to start with a base, and a base of Scottish players. And what realistically, what Rangers fan, Scottish, there isn't another player for me that ticks the boxes as much as he does. So, as I said, just to echo it, can get it done.
Dean, I'm going to put you in a spot a wee bit here and ask you, where does he fit into this striking department? Because if you've got Dessers, Shankland and Danilo, for me, there's not much there in terms of a player trading model, in terms of somebody you can bring in, work with in the training pitch, develop, etc., etc. Dessers is probably around about the same age as Shankland. I could be wrong. But where does he fit into the striking department next season for you if we were to go for him?
Yeah, they'd be. I would like to think that we would be signing him, and he would be the Rangers' number 9 in terms of Dessers. Holds some value. I would look to be punting him, getting Shanks in, having Danilo, and probably signing a slightly younger striker than what Danilo is. So you've got that mix. You've got the mix of a young striker. You've got Danilo, who's going to be wanting to prove himself next season, and you've got Shanks, who's also going to be wanting to prove himself. So that's three potentially good centre forwards that are going to be all vying for the number 9 spot, and that's what you need. You need 3 players that are going to be wanting to grab that shirt. Now, I'm the eternal optimist, and I'm optimistic that Danilo can come back and he can be he can hit the heights that we think that he can. So then you've got 3 top quality centre forwards all fighting for the number number 9 shirt. And then, touch wood, but somebody gets injured, suspended, you've got a like for like replacement coming in, somebody that's going to come in and somebody that's going to score the goals. That's what we need. We need those levels of competition. Competition breeds success. So we don't have competition, your players can maybe take their foot off the gas, can't they? If you've got competition, you've got all these players that are going to be, running themselves into the ground every training game, every actual match that they're playing, because they didn't want to lose their spot to the person that's sitting on the bench watching them. It's as simple as that.
Aye, definitely. Mason, see in the Scottish Cup semi-final, Rangers played Hearts, Dessers scored twice that day. I seen Shankland at half-time, Ganaffi's not at some of the Hearts players, and then in the second half, Barry Mackay gets the ball on a kind of counter-attack, and Shankland's one inside, and Barry Mackay chooses to drive on down the line, and he gets an earful for Shankland for me. Now, on the same day, Philippe Clement in his presser says, no, this isn't a dig at Dessers at all, but he did say that Dessers is a wee bit too nice sometimes. Now, when you compare the two of them, I would much rather have somebody up front, like Dean says earlier on, providing that leadership. If you've got the core, like you've got just now, for example, you've got the core kind of leadership group in midfield and defence. There's not really anybody up front leading the line as such and harrying people on. And I think personally that's another reason why he's a must.
Yeah, no, he is. You're spot on. How many times do we watch Dessers and he throws his hands up in the air and he's moaning, or one of the defenders has kicked him and he's moaning at the referee, and all that stuff is just comes as a package with Dessers. And as I said, I think I said it to you guys last week, I hope that was his last game of the weekend. And yeah, he scored 22 goals, but he could have had 30, 35 goals, nearly 40 goals. And he's all-round player. I don't think it's been good enough. I don't think he holds the ball nowhere near well enough. And another point that we probably haven't picked up on, but see last week for the last-minute equaliser against Hearts, it's Shankland that wins that flick on, and it's a really good header, by the way. It doesn't get the credit it deserves to go and win it. How many times has Dessers done that for us this season? How many times has he gone and beat a centre-half and won a flick on? Because I honestly can't remember it, and that is nowhere near good enough. And I agree with Dean. I think his stock might be high enough for us to at least get our money back on Dessers, and I think if we can, then we've got to do that. We've 100% got to do that.
Mason, staying with you, where does he fit into striking department for you? If you come on and Shankland's a target, who do you replace him? Do you keep what you've got? Like, what would you do?
I think it's horses for courses, to be honest, Scotty. But I think he definitely has a case to be that main striker for us going into. It wouldn't bother me if he was leading the line for us in the qualifiers. Hopefully, as you said there, Danilo can get up and running, and I think Danilo has different qualities that Shankland doesn't. I think there's certain games that Danilo maybe is them European games away from home that Danilo suits a little bit more than Shankland does. But whatever he does, I think he'll be the top. I don't see Danilo hitting the numbers that Shankland has this season. I don't see Danilo scoring 24 goals in the league for us next season. I think, yeah, he's a quality player, but I don't see him as a natural finisher. So I think Shankland has a real case to be our main man. But something that we've not been able to do lately is make them changes. And Walter Smith was always so good at that. He always had so much firepower and there's so much choice. Like a club like us should have, and we've come away from that from the last few years, and no wonder we're not scoring enough goals and not winning enough games.
Dean, there's some chat in the comments just now about if a deal's going to get done. Could we offload Scott Wright to Hearts? Now, we've got a well-known Hearts supporter in the comments, Wolfenstein, who's saying give us Scotty Wright because Curry suggested it. Wolfenstein thinks Scott Wright would be a good signing for Hearts. I would probably agree with that if I'm being honest. What about you? Where would you sit? Would you be quite happy potentially offloading a player like Scott Wright, getting them off the books, letting them go play in the league, get first team football, be one of the main men at Hearts for like Shankland in return for a cut price fee?
Aye, like where do I sign? Actually, that's giving me goosebumps just the thought of that, because that just that pleases me so much, the thought of it. Yes, we should be doing that. Should definitely be something that we're looking to do, even if they only, if it's only taking $500,000 off the price, I would be taking that. That really is one of them, because you're letting go one player who ticks the homegrown box for European qualification, and you're getting another player in that ticks that box. So, because we're going to need that, and we're going to be needing players in that are going to be capable of coming in and playing in Europe. And that, I mean, the mess of the squad last time round for Europe was, it's absolutely embarrassing how badly depleted we were of players that were able to play because of the homegrown rule. So that's again something that Clement needs to. It's imperative that he does seek to improve that vastly, because we, going into Europe, quite clearly need the 25-man squad. and also competing, you know, every 3 days, and you're abandoning the league. And then as well, I know I'm maybe going off on a bit of tangent here, but I've talked about consistency being an issue that we've got. If you've got players that are playing consistently with each other, and they're not like, oh, he's in the European squad, but he's crap, so we'll play him instead in the league. Maybe just go to, use Barisic and whoever it was at left back, or I'm just using that as an example. That Barisic was in the European squad, so he had to play. So obviously that was the case to begin with. So yeah, get Shanks in for Scott. I'll drive him to Tynecastle myself.
Aye, 100%, mate. I think my favourite goal, Dean, out of that kind of video we watched was his goal against Motherwell. That was what I was talking about. Motherwell come in, sat, blanked in, Hearts in half. That was the game I watched. And after a set piece, boom ball into the box and a simple header into the corner of the net. For me, it does genuinely have it all. So I think we're on course to kind of wrap up there, lads. Mason, thank you for coming on. Do you want to tell folk where they can find you? And if you've got a message to Nils Cotman and Philippe Clement, the floor's yours, my friend.
No, thank you for having us on, Scotty D. Appreciate it. Talking about, as I said, not one of my favourite subjects this season, and that is definitely getting Shankland to Rangers. Yeah, I'm on the Gallant Few, so little shout out to the Gallant Few. Anyone that likes to listen to Rangers podcasts, we've always got sort of podcasts coming out, so to keep an eye out for that. And any messages to Clement and Nils Cotman is they've got to get it right. They have to get it right. Pressure's on. I'm sure they know that anyway, but I would like us to look a little bit closer to home to at least get a base. I think that's going to be important, and not make the same mistake previous managers have made.
Well, thanks for coming on, mate. Dino, floor's yours, mate.
Just get it done. Simple. As Mason said there, you look closer to home. Unequivocally imperative, in my opinion, to do that. You sign the best Scottish players in the league, and he's right at the top of the list. So get it done, and we could all be a lot happier come May next year.
Oh, some strong words. And also, mate, I know this is your third pod. Is this your second pod this week, innit? You're on again tomorrow night too. So cheers for your graft, mate. It's appreciated.
No worries, mate.
Right, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe. This is probably the last punt I'm going to have at this topic, because I've went on and on and on about it. I don't think that we could have covered it in a better way than what we did tonight. You've seen stats, you've seen goals, you've seen a plea for three guys that just want Lawrence Shankland in our team, because we know that he would benefit his squad. He would score goals for a club he loves, and I just think fans would be a lot happier. I think he would help put trophies back in the trophy cabinet again. As Paul says, like and subscribe, everybody. Just remember, this was brought to you in conjunction with Man on Inverclyde and Evolve Private Personal Training. The links are down in the descriptions, so head on over. And we'll be back tomorrow night. I think we're going to look at Philippe Clement's management style tomorrow night, look at his teams, what his tactics have been, if there's a brand of football there, and can I get into that a wee bit more. So there's plenty of other content coming up. And remember, every night is Rangers Journal night.